Okay, class, here we go. I'm going to look at page 382, numbers 15 through 21. I'm going to work out the majority of them, but not quite all the way. So we have a little bit more you have to do tonight. But hopefully we're feeling a little bit more confident and a little bit more successful on these. So let's start with number 15, right? It's 15 through 21 on. So 15 says 2x plus 3y equals 9. And x plus 5y equals 8. Now, I think the first thing to remember is that you could have the possibility of starting this a different way, multiplying by different numbers, and still get the exact same answer. So it's not necessarily important that your work matches mine. So if you already have an answer, you might want to wait until you see what the final solution is before you decide there are changes or different things that you want to do to adjust your work. Okay, so if we're looking at this one, the first step that we might take is see if there's a place that we could multiply one of them to turn them into another. So if I focus on just the x's, right, I'm going to start with a smaller number. So is there anything I can multiply 1 by to turn it into a 2? And the answer to that is yes, there is. So I can multiply this bottom equation by 2. Now, not only do we want them to have matching coefficients, we also want them to have opposite signs. Okay, so if this 2 is positive and this 1 is positive, those are both positive and they're the same sign. So we're going to want to throw a negative on that to make sure that we get matching signs, matching coefficients and opposite signs. So our top equation is going to stay the same as a 2x plus 3y equals 9. Our bottom equation, we're going to distribute this -2 all the way through. So -2 times 1 gives us a -2x. -2 times 5 is a -10y. And -2 times 8 is a -16. Okay, once we've done that, then we know, as long as we've done everything correct, we should have set ourselves up so that we can just go to adding. So 2x plus a -2x cancels out. 3y plus -10y is a -7y. 9 plus a -16 will give us a -7. This is then a one-step equation we can solve. So I'll divide each side by -7 and get y equals +1. At that point, I'm still not finished because I still need to take this y value and plug it back in to find x. So maybe if we go back up here and plug it into the top equation. So the original equation said 2x plus 3y equals 9. And I want that y to be replaced with a 1. So now I have 2x plus 3 times 1, which is 3, equals 9. I can solve this two-step equation. And I will get x equals 3. So I have x equals 3 and y equals 1. Or if I wanted to write this as my final answer and as an ordered pair, I would get 3, 1. Okay, so if you got that same answer, but maybe you multiplied differently or plugged back into a separate equation, that would still be fine. Okay, so our next problem is going to be number 17. Number 17 says 6x plus 4y equals 42. And -3x plus 3y equals -6. So just looking at this problem, we should see that we don't have any matching coefficients, so we are going to have to do some multiplying here. Okay, so we can sort of look and see maybe where we want to multiply. Right, so if I look at the x's, -3, I can multiply by something to give me 6, and I can multiply that by a 2. Again, not only do I want matching coefficients, but I also want them to have the opposite sign. So my x in the top is positive and my x in the bottom is negative, which is actually perfect. Those are already opposite signs, so I don't need to add a negative anywhere. So my top equation is going to stay the same as the 6x plus 4y equals 42. And my bottom equation, I'm going to be distributing that 2 all the way through. So that's going to be a negative 6x plus a 6y equals negative 12. Okay, so once we've multiplied this through, we're now set up to add. And I am going to leave it there. So you're going to have to add straight down, find that value, and plug it back in. I'm not going to finish that one any further for you. Okay, so let's take a look at the next one that you're going to have to do is number 19. Number 19 says 6x minus 3y equals 15. And 7x plus 4y equals 10. Again, just looking at this problem to start with, we do not see a matching coefficient. So then we're going to see if we can multiply one of them. So 6 times nothing will give us 7, so we can't go that route. 3 times, nothing times 3 will give us 4, so we can't go that route either. Which means in this situation, we're going to have to multiply both equations. Now, in this case, I think I'm going to focus on the y simply because it has smaller numbers. But it doesn't mean that that's the only one or your only choice that you could go with. Okay, then I'm recognizing that I can turn those both into a 12. If you don't recognize that right off the bat, remember we said we could go with the pattern that whatever coefficient we have on the bottom, we can bring to the top. And whatever we have on the top, we can bring to the bottom. Remember that negative sign isn't something we want to bring with it or take into account. Right now, we're just trying to make them both be a 12. Then we're going to ask ourselves, is this y, this 3y positive or negative? It's negative. And the y on the bottom is positive. Those are opposite signs, which means that's the case that we wanted in, and we don't want to add a negative onto either of these out front. So in the top, we're going to distribute all the way through. So 4 times 6 will give me a 24x. 4 times negative 3 minus 12y. And 4 times 15 will give me a 60. I'm also going to have to multiply through on the bottom. So 3 times 7 is a 21x. 3 times 4 is a positive 12y. And 3 times 10 is 30. Now, once I'm here, as long as I did everything correctly, I should be good to go with just adding these up. Oh, I'm going to get some bigger numbers here. So let's see. 24 plus 21 is going to give me a 45x. My y's will cancel. 60 plus 30 will give me 90. I'll then divide both of these by 45. And that will give me an answer of x equals 2. Now, once again, I'm not finished with x equals 2. I still need to do something with that. Okay, I need to find my y value. So I need to take that and I need to plug that back in. Okay, so I'm going to plug this 2 back into, let's see, I think I'm going to go with the top equation over here. I need to plug it in for x. So I did have an equation that said 6x minus 3y equals 15, but now I'm substituting that 2 in for x. So now I have 12 minus 3y equals 15. I can subtract that 12 on each side, right? I'm looking in front of the 12. It's positive, so I'll subtract it. Negative 3y equals 3. And I'll get y equals negative 1. Okay, so if I were to write my final answer as an ordered pair, I would have 2 comma negative 1. Okay, then finally, let's take a look at number 21. '21 says 9x plus 8y equals 15. And 9x plus 8y equals 8. Now, when we look at this one, we do already see matching coefficients. In fact, we see matching coefficients in both of them. So you're just gonna have to pick whether you wanna focus on the X or whether you wanna focus on the Y. I'm gonna decide to focus on the X just for this specific example. Okay, and that top X is positive and my bottom X is positive. So when they're the same sign, I'm gonna have to multiply this through by a -1. So my top equation will be 9x plus 8y equals 15. And my bottom equation will be a -9x minus 8y equals -8. At this point, we're now prepared to add, and I am not gonna finish this one for you either, so you're gonna have to finish that one up and come with an answer on your own.